How's it going, everybody? My name is Karis. You are watching You Don't Scare Me. It is 32 degrees right now, so it's very hot. I have all my fans turned off because obviously I'm recording, and so I don't want that audio coming up. So I am starting to sweat. Anyways, we're gonna get through this. I just want to record a quick little video here to throw up on YouTube, just for my Friday video. I'm not going to be watching any videos today. I came back from my trip from Scotland recently on the last week Friday. I landed back in Canada. So it was an amazing trip. I had a blast while I was there. My partner and I checked out a lot of the haunted places, some cemeteries, the underground vaults, some haunted buildings, Edinburgh Castle. We also checked out some of the more haunted areas of Edinburgh and sort of explored as much as we possibly could. We did check out the Holyrood Palace, climbed Arthur's Seat all the way to the top, 250-meter elevation. Through the entire trip, one of the most prevailing things that we found was it is really easy to start in one space, walk completely in a straight line, end up. We tried to leave the city sometimes. We tried to go as far to one side as we could, and every time we turned a corner, Royal Mile, we walked like 137 kilometers in 5 days. We went all the way down to Portobello Beach, which is a 19-meter elevation, if you can put that into consideration. It's the first time I left the country, first time I see the coastline, first time I've climbed a volcano, first time I've been inside of a castle. So many firsts, honest to God. So I think today I just want to talk a little bit about the history of one of the places that we checked out and the experiences that we had while we were there. So we went to a place called Greyfriars Greyfriars Kirkyard, which is a graveyard in Scotland. And the Greyfriars Kirkyard is right next to a place called Greyfriars Bobby. So Greyfriars Bobby is named after a dog, Bobby, who is a Skye Terrier, 1870s, maybe a little earlier. I think he lived to be 16 years old. But he stayed in the cemetery for 14 years. And so basically there's this guy, his name was John Gray. He was a police officer in Edinburgh. And he would wander the streets and basically stop criminals. And so as his days grew on, he was in the force for a little bit, and he found that he was very lonely. So he decided to get a dog to go on his routes with him. And that's where Bobby comes in. So he purchased the dog, and then basically traveled around with the dog. He was a police officer for 2 years, until unfortunately, he got tuberculosis. And in that time, so he was buried in the Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh. And when he was buried, his dog tended the grave and remained at the grave for 14 years, never leaving his owner's grave, other than, to saunter around the graveyard a little bit. Or at a certain time of day, he would go down to the grass markets and he would get fed by the local pubs down there. And he would waltz his way back up and then check out his master's grave. So Bobby did that for 14 years until he passed away, I believe, he was like January of 1872. He was 16 years old. And so as the story goes, if you go to the grave, a lot of people like to pay homage to Bobby by bringing him sticks and putting them either at his master's grave or in the memorial for him, the front of the cemetery. Bobby's not actually buried next to his master. They wanted to, but unfortunately dogs cannot be buried in cemeteries in general. And so Bobby is actually entombed in under a statue of himself right in front of the pub. If you Google Greyfriar Bobby, first thing you see is a statue of Greyfriar Bobby, and his nose is a little rubbed off. Don't touch his nose if you go there, by the way. Locals hate it. I get it. I know a lot of people say, I've been there, I touched it. No, I've never heard anybody get angry at me, but people will get angry at you if you touch his nose. It's tempting because his nose is worn off, and people say if you touch it, you get good luck. But the fact of the matter is that the statue is very expensive, and people touching the nose over and over and over again eventually wears it down. And so recently repaired the statue, and so they did, and then people started touching the nose again. So don't touch the nose. It costs them a lot of money, right? It basically desecrates the remains of the dog. It's a tourist thing, it's ignorant, and it does cause a lot of anger for the locals. So respect them, respect Bobby, don't touch his nose. If you want to do something for him, bring him a stick. Put it as his memorial, put it at his master's grave. I digress. My partner and I were checking out this graveyard and the wee early hours of 3 a.m. local time, witching hour, where the most spooky stuff is supposed to happen. So in this cemetery, there are a lot of graves that you might notice sound very familiar. Like, for instance, there is a memorial plaque in the back of the cemetery for a McGonagall from Harry Potter, right? In the same cemetery, you'll find Thomas Riddle, and probably some other references to other characters. And this is because while J.K. Rowling was writing Harry Potter, she frequented the graveyard, frequented the school behind the graveyard, which is apparently an inspiration for Hogwarts. And then, just that's why the city's very well known for Harry Potter's, because a lot of the stories of Harry Potter were inspired by Edinburgh. And the cemetery is really interesting. There are a lot of ghost stories around the cemetery. It is a very chilling place to be at a certain hour. Checking out the cemetery, we took a lot of video, checked out the entire place. If you ever get the chance to go there, you might notice that some of the graves have iron bars over top of them. And there's actually a good reason for this. So back in the early days of Edinburgh, universities would pay for corpses because they didn't have a steady stream of bodies to do scientific dissection on, to investigate, and to learn more about the human body. And so what would happen was that when somebody passed away, they would sell that person's body for about $1,000 now, which is crazy. As you might expect, when you offer a bounty for bodies and the bodies aren't coming as fast, what happens? You have to procure bodies, whether that be through murder or through exhuming from the graveyard. So the reason there are bars across graves is to prevent people from going in, digging up the bodies, and selling them to the university. All the very specific spots that we stopped, where there is an open yard prison in that cemetery. It's in the very back left of the cemetery. And you'll find there's a gate, and then there's a big building there as well. So that gate is actually used to be the entrance to a open air prison. And what they would end up doing is, at certain times of year, what have you, just torture criminals. They would strip them, have them lay down in the snow in the winters. They would beat them. They would do a lot of heinous stuff to them. So it's said that a lot of dark energy surrounds this yard because of the atrocities that happened while they were being imprisoned there. You flash forward to today, and the gate is permanently closed. You can't go in there. It's chained shut. There's no entry. We did catch something interesting. Ghosts aren't real. Tell you what, though. Ghosts might not be real, but I still have spots in my eyes from the camera. Come. Focus, huh? Just a random assortment of shoes. Which, in a graveyard, is a strange and suspicious thing.
Huh.
Are those people here? Or are they stolen? It's weirdly foggy. Noticed them during our tour. I thought that was kind of strange, but you get kicked out of that.
The fog's gone.
Wow. Is the fog over there? Just where the ghosts are? Just where the deputies are? Black rock?
No, it's only when it's not even coming back, but I'm zooming in.
It's also Moshi Moshi. Look at that. What about here?
And my lens is clean, right?
100%. Shiny. That's curious.
No real fog on the tombstone.
I think it just broke something. Oh, look, all the sticks. You want to pick up some of these sticks for the dog?
Sure.
Or should we? Maybe this is where the dog brings the sticks when he gets rid of them. So this gate back here is specifically very particularly interesting. So this gate back here, there's never a better thing on in the phone camera. The flashlight, we won't be able to look too far in here. Yours is better if you want to look. So this gate right here used to be a prison, an open air prison. So we got closer and closer to the gate, and we actually started hearing things from behind the gate. Now bear in mind, again, that gate is closed. You cannot go into that place. And the reason it's closed off is because people were complaining constantly. They complained to the city, they complained to the yard, they complained a lot. Because when people were in that yard, they were getting scratched, they were getting shoved, they were getting choked, and they were getting hit by nothing. There were no people there. By nothing. Bar it and prevent people from coming in. But this used to be open to the public. They used to keep prisoners in here in the open air. And the prisoners would, there's probably on the plaque here, I'll post a picture of that, but the prisoners were forced to, in the winters, be in here naked, laying on the ground. They were, what you could say, they were murdered, or like they were executed for no good reason. A lot of people died here in this courtyard right here. And a weird vibe to it too. Goosebumps. Spooky. Through my burn, you can kind of see goosebumps. Goose pimples as they were. But anyway, so if there is a haunted place in this graveyard, great. In this. Sounds like someone's moving in there. Might be a groundskeeper. Anyway, if anything's gonna be haunted, it's this courtyard right here. It's good. You want. So they got so many complaints that they basically went, no more, we're done. And they chained the gate closed. So now you can't go in there. We were hearing noises coming from behind the gate, like whispering and people talking from behind the gate. Now, bear in mind, this is a city. The city is alive, right? Especially during the nighttime. There's a lot of the locals will come out when all the tourists disappear. But these were like people in the yard, right behind the gate. And so we came up to the gate, recording as much as we could. And when we got to the gate, like I have it on video, I approached the gate and there was a sudden, startled shuffle behind the gate. And I pressed my head up against the bars and I looked. There was nobody there. It was weird. It startled me. You see me in the video, you see me jump and go, oh, what the heck? And back up. I did approach the gate. I checked. There was nobody there. And maybe they ran when they found out that I was there. We stayed there for a good like 15, 20 minutes before moving on. Nothing. Crazy. But yeah, we have some of that on recording. There might be some voices because when we started hearing the voices, we were like, and we started recording and checking it out a little bit more. We might have caught something interesting. We did put our phones up against the yard gate and record as much of the actual yard as possible. And just to see if we maybe picked up some movement or some people or something interesting. I will also say that the graveyards are very popular with homeless people. They like to go in there. They sleep in the graves. They sleep in the mausoleums. There's actually a mausoleum in there where a man in the early, again, probably like 1700s or something like that, built a mausoleum for him and his partner. And a homeless man broke in there at some point and actually like fell down the stairs into the mausoleum because it actually goes down some steps. And when he fell, he kept falling. He fell through the floor in this mausoleum and found that there was a chamber underneath that was just full of skeletons. That was recent too. That was probably like 2009 or something. It's crazy. A lot of the bodies in the cemetery also came from another yard behind a cathedral on the Royal Mile. And behind there is a parking lot. And that parking lot used to be their cemetery where they would dump all the bodies. And it got so full that the bodies would end up washing up, like bones would wash up in the streets when it rained. And so enough was enough, and they actually moved all the bodies over except for one guy. Yeah, I can't make it out. Well, anyway.
Oh, wait.
So this area here used to be a graveyard.
The above.
Spooky.
Site of the burial in St. Giles graveyard of
Scottish.
John Knox.
Great Scottish divine who died here, or died 24th of November
So this area here used to be a graveyard, and they exhumed all the corpses because apparently they were getting so many corpses here that they were coming out of the ground. Yeah, the rain was washing them out, and every now and again you see hands poking out. This guy here was the only person they didn't move under spot 23 behind St. Giles Church, or church/cathedral.
Now he's part of a parking lot.
Now they've paved paradise and they put up a parking lot. Anyway, this would be a haunted place because you'd think, should be Robert recording sideways, eh? Anyway, you'd think this could have been a haunted place because of its historical significance, as well as the fact that there were thousands of bodies buried here that are no longer here, but you always miss something. It's a pretty spooky area for sure at night.
Still buried there. He's still under that grave. His body is entombed under that parking lot, under spot 23, right where his plaque is. So if you guys ever visit there, there's a body there. But anyways, so that yard was really interesting because like we did hear noises, we did hear stuff, we did see stuff. Could have been something, could have been nothing. There's also a crypt that's like just like that crypt that guy fell through is to the left of that cemetery gate or that open air prison, and then to the left of that are more of those gated sort of cemetery plots. And what's interesting about these is that if you look at them, there's actually buildings right behind them, like people's apartments back into these gravestones, which is wild. Their windows are in the graves. It's crazy. But anyways, so taking some photos there, we actually did catch something, and I caught something at the time when I was looking. I saw it. I looked at the picture to see how, as I was doing the low light, because it was pitch black, and I was taking the low light shots. And when I went back to see if the shot looked cool, there was a face in the picture. I'll throw it up here if I can edit that in. That's really interesting. So I sat there for like almost like 40 minutes, taking shot after shot after shot, and sort of changing the shape and stuff like that to try to catch more of that. Because I caught a face. There's a face in one of these pictures, right? By the end of it, I had two faces show up in two different pictures. They look like they're different people. It's awesome. It's probably the coolest thing that's happened to me this entire time. Mind you, it probably was just a trick of the light, but these look like faces to me. But again, confirmation biased. I want them to be faces. I want them to be ghosts. You tell me. Again, there is so much more footage that we've taken. I'm going to do a way better video at some point. Again, it is very hot right now. I need like a month to go through all the footage and to like stitch it all together, because I took like 1,500 pictures and then like 200 videos while we were there of everything we experienced. So I need to compartmentalize them. I need to go through them. I need to find some interesting stuff in them and then bring them forward into a video like this. I might post them on Reddit, see what people think, and then discuss that. That's going to do it for today's video. This was an amazing trip. I had a blast. And I hope this video didn't suck. Okay, thanks, bye.